Well. Hi, guys. Thanks for being here and thanks for bearing with us. I'm still on the road, so no camera. Um, yeah, I actually feel naked without my camera, but I could actually be naked. Oh, God, what a horrible thought that is.
Hey, Nigel, you better cover up, man. You better cover up.
Yeah. So I should be back in a couple of weeks. But guys, we're gonna throw something at you today. And we're also going to Harry and I are going to get together again tomorrow, but it won't go up on here. I'll just make a little bumper with a link. It's only going to go up on BitChute due to the nature of the information. But we've got a couple of things, really awesome, mind-blowing things to report this week, and we're going to start with Harry's version of my milk bottle episode, because you had something. Well, just take the floor, bro. Let's tell everybody what happened.
Well, you've been telling a lot of people about what happened to you with regards to that bottle of milk. Just you drank it and then it appeared back in your refrigerator, unused, and then you couldn't tell what was going on or what had happened. Well, something similar to me happened. About a week ago, I was listening to one of my favorite programs online to listen to, as the Crow 777. And that particular day, I'm driving through a canyon road. And when I do drive through that canyon road, I make sure that the show I'm going to listen to, Crow has his own website. So I download the show on my phone, and that way I can still listen to the entire show through the drive. Whereas if I'm just on YouTube or any other platform, it's going to cut out within 5 minutes of being in that road. Well, I drive through that canyon road and I listen to the first hour. And then as I get through the canyon road, I'm listening to hour 2, because he has a paid hour and a free hour. So the second hour is the paid hour because I'm a member. And all of a sudden I start hearing hour 1 over again. And I'm like, what? Didn't I just hear this information, this introduction, this, the guests introducing himself, things like that. And I realized, I said, oh, I got to contact Crow. So I emailed him the next day and told him, hey, I think you got a recording error, that you must have recorded hour 1 over hour 2. So you have 2 hour 1s instead of an hour 1, hour 2. Well, he emails me back and he verified that no, there's 2 separate hours of programming. And even the comments on his thread said, oh, there's an hour 2. So I have to verify. So I go on my computer, instead of the phone, I go to the channel, and lo and behold, there's 2 different hours of information. And I'm like, how did that happen? Well, it wasn't until a few days later that I realized that when you go through that dead zone in the canyon, once I got out, the website must have refreshed, and I re-listened to hour 1 over again. And
you downloaded it. It was on your phone, right? So what must have happened when your phone picked up signal again? It reset, but you're listening to it on the phone. It's not like you connected to his to the internet. You're listening from the internet. You'd already downloaded it, so you were essentially listening to a recording that had been downloaded onto your phone.
Exactly.
So you come out of the canyon, and the phone automatically just reset itself without you doing anything.
Yeah.
Now, how incredible is that? When you put the 2 episodes, not 2 episodes, but my experience with the milk bottle. I mean, guys, if you haven't heard it, very quickly, I got a 1.5 liter bottle of milk in my fridge door, and it was about a quarter full. And on the shelf in the fridge, there were 2 full bottles of milk. I came home from work. I walked home from work. It was 5:30. It was hot and I was thirsty. I went to the fridge. I picked up the milk from the door. That was a quarter full. I drank it. And then I picked up one of the full bottles off the shelf, put it in the door. That was it. End of story. The following morning, when I got up and I went to make a coffee, I opened the fridge and, of course, expecting to see a full bottle of milk in the door, and there wasn't. There was a quarter bottle of milk in the door, and there were 2 bottles on the shelf. And the empty bottle that I'd thrown away was not in the bag that I'd put it in. It was like it reset. Now, if you listen to my chat with Archaics over on Jason's channel, I explain the things that other people, my daughter, one of my students, had said in regard to that kind of thing happening, because they've experienced it themselves. So I go into it in great detail over on Jason's channel. Just look for the interview with Devil's Playground 2. But yeah, when you told me that story, Harry, it blew me away.
Yeah, and I think
yeah,
it simply explains that there's probably a lot of mini resets that happen throughout everybody's day that are so minute that no one really notices them. And so that, I think, is a good explanation of what probably happened in your circumstances, my circumstance, of course. And then
I mean, it's really, really spooky, really, really weird. But I mean, once you embrace or you adopt the idea that we're living in the simulation, it's all. I was going to say obvious, but obvious is probably the wrong word to use. But you know, once you realize we're living in the simulation, it all kind of makes some kind of weird sense. But what I want to jump into, Harry, is this 144,000. Now, this is something that came across my radar a couple of days ago, and it blew my mind. And I'm going to show you exactly what it is. I'm going to leave a link below if you haven't seen this particular episode. It's from July the 29th. It's from Hugo Talks. Does this prove the MOB? He's talking about the double strands. We all know what the double strands are. We know what this represents as well, all to do with everything that's been going on. Now, this guy back in 2000, this Dr. Crick, was asked about how many genomes, because this guy apparently is credited with discovering this. Now, I'm not sold on it, Harry. I you know, a couple of guys have made comments on the channel that this isn't real, and who knows? But you know, what the important thing here is that this Dr. Crick was asked how many genomes they had identified, and he said 140,000. We expect to find another 4,000. Now, this is in 2000. And this is him. As I say, I'll leave a link to the video. You can go and watch it. It's about 15 minutes long, but it's a mind blow. And we know that the Bible talks about the 144,000. Well, if this guy is talking about 144,000 genomes, we would expect that we have 72,000 from mum and 72,000 from dad, right? 72,000 plus 72,000 is 144,000. Now, we know, I'm going to be careful, but we know with the talk of what's going on with the Jabberwocky, what they're trying to do is to add a third strand. Well, if they added a third strand, it would result in 216,000. 144,000 plus another 72 is 216. What does the old Bible say? 600, 3 score, which is 60 and 6. 600 times 60 times 6 is 216,000. Hence, the question that Hugo's asking, does this prove the MOB? Now, you know, he's not saying he does. He's not saying he doesn't, but he's literally throwing it out there, as I am, because, you know, we all want what you guys think. We want your comments. And then, of course, many will remember the Queen, well, the holographic Queen, pressing that orb and lighting up the tree, and it looked like, well, we all know what it looked like because everybody was commenting on it at the time. So, But anyway, what's also interesting, I sent the link to James Brockhurst. James and I are good friend, online friends. If you haven't checked out his channel, please do. I'll leave a link below. And I sent him this, and this is his email reply. He said, this makes sense based upon feeling about what I hear. The 144 is also expressed as a total number of petals of 6 chakras. Now, he's done videos on this, from the 6 chakras from the root to the third eye. And with the 7th multiplies by 1,000, giving 144,000. Of course, he says this is perverted into an external literal number by people, by the so-called agents. 616 and 216 you've looked into. Yes, we have. If you haven't seen those videos, please go back and watch them. Very, very interesting. And it's clear the third helix is artificial. Same experiments by same authors behind. You can see the names here. He goes on to say that 1656, as Jason from Archaics notes, is also expressed as it is, as he shows here, which is Yahweh, the 10th, 6th, and 5th characters in Hebrew. So the joke is that everyone, physical body, is a Jehovah's Witness. And this is the order of base pairs, of building blocks of the DNA. The activated crown and seat of God, quote unquote, in quotes, is the pineal gland, hence the all-seeing eye, or the I am. All actrix. And magnetism is the human body. Red sky at night is the activated chakra system, which is the D light, as it is internal. The death of the human. He is us. We talked about that. G is us. When the all am us, thalamus, is ascended, the raising the Christ in us, Christus. He said, the way I've described things before is 3D, you, mirror, 2D, reflection. This pattern shows us in this realm, the mirror, the mechanism. We've done videos on this. Mirror, mirror on the wall became magic mirror on the wall. Why? I'll tell you in a minute. On a shallow 2D copy. So to find truth, look either side of your mirror. What you may not see behind you, you may see a copy of in the reflection. This applies to the natural order, the mockery template reflection. God works in the unseen, and so does the third strand helix, artificial. In a way, you can say man, 6, faces, 1, mirror. There's your 616, and gets a 2D reflection, but can do nothing until we do, as it is shallow and lacks the life in us. Air, the organic exchange that is re-sun Y that generates oxygen, or the breath of God. So some interesting comments there, James. Thank you, my friend. I'll leave a link to your channel. But yeah, Staveley was having doing a live stream with Nathan. I forget his last name, and they were talking. I mean, you know, you and I, Ari, we've been asked to do stuff on the Mandela effect, and guys, if you want us to, please, you know, let us know in the comments, and we'll do a podcast on the Mandela effect, because it's essentially what woke me up, as you know, Harry. And they were talking about, you know, why would mirror, mirror on the wall change to magic mirror on the wall? I mean, what is the significance? In my opinion, the significance, because all these Mandela effects have a meaning. They got a deep-rooted meaning behind them. Sex in the City, we talked about this in another podcast, changed to Sex and the City. Well, what is the city? The city is the City of London, known as the City, right. the head of finance. Well, what rules this whole realm? Sex and money, sex and the city, right? The magic mirror on the wall change, or the mirror, mirror on the wall change to magic mirror on the wall, I think was literally to bring our attention to it, right? The mirror is the mirror connection is the fact that, as we've said multiple times, Harry, we're living in a mirror of the original realm, right? We're in a reflection. We're in a copy and paste. Go and watch our copy and pasted video if you haven't, guys, from last year, middle of last year. We go into great detail as to how this realm is a copy of the original. So I think the mirror on the wall becoming magic mirror on the wall. They've kept the the 33.
Yeah. Well, well, remember too, the reason why they want the mirror is so important to them is because they want to reverse how everything operates. They don't want the first version, which is us, to be in control. They want the reflected version to be in control. So what they're doing is they're empowering their black mirror, which is, the computers, the phones, the TVs. They are going to be programmed with the information that they want the humanity to actually run with. And so they're going to create what they apply on the screen to motivate and move the human. So instead of you seeing the reflection in the mirror, the reflection is going to make you make the action they want.
Yeah, but I mean, right now on camera, you're seeing a reflection of yourself, aren't you, on your computer screen?
Yeah.
So it's the same thing.
But I'm glad that I'm the one that's saying, and then the image is repeating what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. The other thing that I wanted to touch on, you and I spoke about this briefly yesterday, Ari, but I want our listeners to comment on this. Staveley always talks about Publishers Clearinghouse, right? The McMahon guy. Why would a publisher go out and knock on someone's door and give them $1 million? The question is, guys, do any of you listening to my voice right now know anyone, personally know anyone, and I mean personally, not a friend of a friend, but someone that you know who's actually won this kind of big check or won the lottery? Because we've been speculating for a long time now that how do you get money out of people? Well, what you do is you offer them something, whether it is real or not, that they want. So look, if you go and spend $1 on a ticket, you might win $1 million, right? Do you any of you listening to me, do you know anyone who's won $1 million on the lottery? I mean, Harry, you told me yesterday that the one in the US now is $1 billion.
It's $1 billion, and I know people who would never buy a ticket, and they went and bought one yesterday.
That proves the point. I mean, everybody, or many people listening to this are probably going to turn around and say, well, look, my mum won $50, or I won $50 or whatever. Well, they've got to keep the people sweet. So if they say, okay, we've got 1,000 winners this week, and they're all going to get $50, right? And they haven't really got 1,000 winners. They've got 50 winners, and they're all going to get $50. I just think the whole thing's a con. I really, I mean, I can't prove it, but the channel's growing. We've just got over 2,000 subscribers. So, guys, for those of you listening to this, if you know anyone, personally know anyone who has won this kind of thing, whether it be the lottery or the Ed McMahon thing, when they get the big check, let us know, will you? Because we're beginning to think, or we're beginning to see the cracks now in the matrix are literally they're all over the place.
I think, more and more, there's more and more people seeing it. It's more obvious. And again, it's not because we're wiser, or they want us to see it. I think they realize that they're not going to stop this tidal wave. And now what they're going to try to do in another form of deception is say, we are giving you this knowledge. Look what you have now know. And they're going to try to give themselves a pat on the back again.
Yeah, I think that's highly likely. But we all know what's gone on over the last 2.5, nearly 3 years, and more people are realizing what it really is. But we've come to realize, guys, that this is not the biggest lie of all time. It just looks like it's the biggest lie of all time. No. we've got something much it's connected. Let's just put it that way. It's connected. It's all connected.
It's connected. The next topic that we're going to have is going to be connected to eventual death. How about that? I'll just say that.
Yeah.
It's the fear mongering of the whole death plan.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we've all been taught from an early age that we are we should be scared of death, and I really think, to a point, Harry, that and again we touched on this in a previous podcast, that we know that when we come here we get a mind wipe. Why? Well, if we didn't get a mind wipe, we would remember dying, and we wouldn't be scared of death. So the control mechanism that's in place wouldn't work as well if you could remember dying. And one other thing that I want to finish up this with is something that Jason was saying on one of his podcasts. I think it was the one he was with Jordan from Waters Above, I think. And the way he explained it, I mean, because I haven't got a camera, you're going to have to sort of bear with me on this, because I can't, give you any body language. But let's say an event happens in your life.
Yeah.
Now, just for an example, I mean, he was using a fight when he was in prison. But let's just say that you had a mega argument with someone you love, your mom, your partner, one of your kids, but like a mega serious argument, something that wouldn't normally happen. What he says you do, you write down the date that happened. Then in the future, any time in the future, could be years later, doesn't matter. Anytime in the future, the same thing happens, but it doesn't have to be an argument with the same person. But it's you having an argument with a loved one, but a really, really bad argument. Again, I'm just using this as an example.
Yeah.
Write down the date, then calculate the number of days between the first argument and the second argument. Okay. And multiply it by 1.618, which is 5.
Yeah.
Whatever that number comes to, you add those number of days to the second argument. And what you're doing is you're predicting when you will have a third argument in the same style, the same type of really, really mega blowout with a loved one. And write that date down. That date will be in the future, but pay attention to it, because he says the chances are that it will manifest, that you will have that third argument on that predicted date.
And all that does is prove that it's all pre-programmed.
Yeah.
Just like Jason always says, that things are it's a script. It's already written out.
Yeah, absolutely, totally. So, if and as I say, don't keep the argument thing in your mind. But let's suppose you nearly got hit by a car, just for argument's sake, right? And then whatever, write the date down, and then in the future it happens again. You nearly got hit by a car. Oh shit! You are going to be able to predict the next time you are going to be nearly hit by a car. Now he's done this, he's calculated this, and he's done this when he was in prison, and he said it works. It's there. It proves one. It's just another piece of evidence, another piece of the jigsaw that proves that, or shows that we're living in a script.
Yeah. Yep, definitely.
I mean, I use the word prove. No, we can't prove anything, but let's use the word demonstrate instead of prove.
Well, they also came up with another thing too. They were looking at the word AIX.
Yeah.
And if you look at it in the Greek, he said it comes into the word goat. Now, maybe in ancient Greek, I had to look it up, and he was right. So if you look at that word in the Greek, AINX, it does refer to a goat, and that's where the derivative of the word God comes from. And when you look at what do the Catholics kind of look at their God, it's kind of like what we look at the Baphomet.
Well, in I forget which language it is, but goat, GOTE, is a drain, right? Where waste goes.
Mhm.
And the word gut comes from the word goat, Gote. And where is our waste stored? In our gut.
And the zygote, the way it's
Yeah,
spelled,
yeah,
spelled the
yeah,
same way.
yeah. Spelled
The
the same way.
XY goat, yeah. So
Yeah.
again, there's a lot of connection to language. We've always said that. So
Mm.
never.
Oh, without a doubt, without a doubt. The language connections are amazing. James Brockhurst does a lot of breaking down words. Max Egan, I was watching one of listen to him this morning, and he was talking about the word individual.
Mhm.
In divide you all.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all there, but we don't look at it. Tend to not look at it um, through the new eyes. We just take it as individual. Well, in divide you all.
Yeah.
Well, that's what the whole game is to divide us all. You
Divide
know?
and conquer. Yeah. Divide and conquer.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, Anne Marie again yesterday. She was talking about what she refers to as the soul tribe. And I made a comment. I know you responded to it, Harry.
Yeah.
That all you guys listening to this. I mean, you've never met me. You've never met Harry. Harry and I have never met. We've never met Anne Marie or Kim or Logan or Jason or any of them.
Yeah.
And yet we're all coming together, um, putting out this kind of information, feeding off each other, feeding off you guys, because we wouldn't be able to do half the stuff we do if it wasn't for our subscribers, people listening to this. Your comments are awesome.
Mhm.
Um, and I think the comment that I made to Anne Marie was just that. That is our soul tribe, the people that we connect with online. We wouldn't be able to do it if there was no we didn't have these platforms.
And then we'd have no reason. We'd have no reason to do it because the main reason we do it is because we want to benefit other people.
Well, again, I'm totally with Anne Marie on this notion. Again, we can't prove it, but did we? When I say we, I mean the guys that we're just talking about, putting out this information, and you guys out there listening to it too. We're all trying to wake up the sheeple, and a lot of them it just ain't gonna happen. Did we deliberately come here for this? Did our souls deliberately incarnate in this for this time in order to bring this system down? Anne Marie feels very, very strongly that we did, and I kind of agree with her, because once you've got the access to this information, and once you get this information downloaded, and you are aware of the true reality of this realm, then why would you want to keep it to yourself? Why would you not want to be hey shouting it from the rooftops?
Like we saw in that movie, The Island.
Yeah,
That guy has the opportunity to escape and never return.
yeah,
What does he do? He
yeah.
goes back, and his intent is to destroy that realm and free as many people as he can. And I think that's exactly what our function here is.
I totally agree. I mean, that's a pretty good example, actually, Harry, because that guy could have just walked away.
Yeah.
He could have just said, I'm out of here, screw everybody else. But he didn't, did
They
he?
even
He
told
went,
him that. They even told him, why would you come back here?
yeah,
You were a millionaire out there in the real world, and
yeah,
you threw that all away to come back just to be a hero.
yeah. I think it's a huge truth drop. I really do. I hadn't made that connection, but now you brought it up. Yeah, I totally get it. I totally see it. And yeah, it's totally possible that that is kind of an allegory, if you like, or a rendition of why we're here. I mean, once you've digested some of Jason's stuff, I mean, he's big on calendars, he's big on dates, and so on and so forth. But he thinks that the simulation started, like 5,000 years ago, 6,000 years ago.
Yeah.
Whereas you and I, Harry, we don't subscribe to that. We think 15th century. What we know is the 15th century, which is why 1492 is so important. Now, right, we've got 10 minutes left, bro. Do you want to? You mentioned something to me yesterday, and I just literally haven't had time. I've been flat out. About the rule of 72.
Oh, yeah.
You
Well,
know,
when you talked about the 72,000 parental, no, paternal and maternal
genomes. Yeah.
genomes, then it made me remember that the 72 is very crucial, and even in the biblical sense, because we know that 72 is key in even in the Muslim world, with the 72 virgins. Supposedly, if you die in battle, you get them. We know that the 72 degrees, 70, it takes 72 years for 1 degree of for the earth to change. Supposedly, we know that. But who could control 72 demons in the Old Testament?
Solomon, right?
King Solomon.
Mm.
Supposedly he had a ring that he wore,
Mm.
and then he could control 72 demons. So when we look at the number 72, it's crucial because, like you said, you added 72 and 72, get to 144, and that references the 144,000. Who knows what he's really controlling?
Mm. Yeah, that's true. One ring to rule them all, as in the Lord of the Rings. Yeah, yeah. It kind of makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Mm.
it does.
But yeah, it's interesting because 7 and 2 is 9, and 144. 1 plus 4 plus 4 is 9. I mean, it's all we know. It's all in the numbers. Numbers is the universal language. It's the one language that everybody in the world understands. So yeah. All right, bro. Well, look, you got anything you wanna finish with?
Just, I know that the topics that we're going to talk about tomorrow is to some it's not going to be a surprise, and to others it's going to shock them, because the ones we're going to talk about are going to be people who we look up to and think that they're going to be a help to us. But in turn, they turn out to be one of our biggest adversaries in history, especially in the last few years.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll give you a quick taster. I forget who it was. I think it was somebody on the SGT report who was saying that somebody did a poll about 10 years ago. They went to a university, not university, where doctors are trained. What's it called, Harry? Where do you go to train to be a doctor?
You intern in a hospital.
Well, when you're studying, you got
medical school.
Right, that's it. You got 8 years of study. Yeah. And they went and did a poll, and they asked everybody, why have you entered this profession? And 98% said for the money.
Yeah.
2% said that they entered this profession because they wanted to help people. Now
that's out of the bag now.
Oh boy, yeah, that was 10 years ago, bro. That was 10 years ago. But we've got some really, really interesting stuff to present to you tomorrow. I'm still putting the presentation together, and as I say, I'll make a little bumper for on here, but the main presentation will be over on BitChute.
Well, just like Jason talks about, a lot of his timelines. The reason why his seem to be a little bit different than how we perceive it is because he sees the calendars as overlapping one another. One taking over, one being dominant, one being passive.
Yeah. But he talks a lot about the Anno Mundi calendar, which is which would put us in the year 5916, not 2022.
Yeah.
So it's a continuous. I mean, if you look at the BCE, or whatever you want, AD, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
I mean, what happened to the year 0?
Yeah.
And if AD was supposed to be after the Christ's death, and Christ lived for 33 years, and you've got the before Christ, so before he was born and after he died, well, you've got a missing 33 years. So the whole thing just doesn't make sense.
It doesn't. But looking at the topic you're going to talk about, which kind of you alluded to already, it wasn't until the turn. This is nothing recent, But after the turn of the century, which Jason is really, really, he really hits that at 1902, when all of the millionaires kind of came out of the woodwork like cockroaches and changed a lot of things. Like 1902 or 1903 was Ford, right? Ford came out then.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, but he spent a lot of time talking about 1890.
Yeah.
And you know that you and I have been looking at this. If we accept his 138 years, then we don't subscribe to the 1902. We subscribe more to the 1888.
Right.
Plus 138 years takes us to 2026. And if we look at 2026, 2 plus 2 plus 6 is 10, which is 1. 1 represents the beginning. And if we remove the added 1,000 years, 2026 becomes 1026, which adds up to 9, which is the end. So that would mean that the year 2026 is really 1026, which would be the end of this era and the beginning of a new one, because it represents the 1 and the 9. And we know how important the 1 and the 9 is, don't we, Harry? We did a whole podcast on 19.
Of course. But remember, a lot of times there's a lot of subterfuge being done. They want to trick us. So like, for example, why would they have had the modern Olympics start in 1896 and not to start them in the year 1900?
Yeah.
All right. So they're trying to alter and deceive. And that's why when Jason does talk about the cyclical nature of everything that happens, things, maybe they do certain things on off years to kind of throw you off and make you not really understand what's really happening. So
yeah. I mean, we talked about that in when we talked about the 1918 epidemic that ended in 1919. Well, lend me a year, right? You got a 1920 plus 19 years, 1939. World War II, ended in 1945. All these numbers add up to 1945. 1 plus 9 plus 4 plus 5 is 19. Add 19 years to that, you get 1964. Pay back the 1 year that you borrowed, your 1963, which adds up to 19. And we know what happened. JFK. And it just keeps going on and on and on. 19 years later, we had 1982, the Falklands War, or the Fake Lands War. 1982 plus 19 is 2001. We know what happened then. And then another 19 years brings us to 2020. So, and it's funny that, when we talk about it being a script, guys, we've literally got 2 minutes and this is going to kick us off. But when we talk about it being a script, remember, every one of you listening to this, older than the age of, let's say, 30, you've known all your life what 2020 vision means. Why? Why has that been instilled into the program all our lives? Why do we refer perfect vision as being 2020 vision? Now we know why. Because it's all been scripted.
And then I'm just going to close on one thing. The profession that we're going to talk about in the next cast, a lot of them that were using these natural products all got kicked out of this country. And they a lot of them have to go south of the border. And they're still there to this day if you want to be healed. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. All right, guys, we will see you. We'll be back in 24 hours. So much love.
All right. You guys take care.
Bye.